Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. It's a Sunday night. It's not a good weekend. Pitt got waxed yesterday by Miami. The Steelers get waxed today by Buffalo. So it was a wasted weekend as the Steelers now try to figure out exactly what their identity is, exactly what they're trying to do on both sides of the ball in advance of a very important game on Sunday at Baltimore. These two teams are now tied 6 wins, 6 losses. Both look bad. Somebody's going to win this division. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cincinnati Bengals emerge as the team. And that sounds ridiculous to even say, given where they started, given Joe Burrow's injury. But he came back the other day, played well in his first game. Their defense seemed to be inspired by that, and they beat Baltimore to get to 4-8. But if you remember last year, they were 4-8, then they won their final 5 and were knocking on the door. If they do that this year, there's a pretty good chance they're going to win this division. That's how wild it's been in the AFC North, which has been a bad division. I always thought it was one of the most competitive, good divisions in football. Right now, it's one of the worst divisions in football, and everyone's playing accordingly. So we have a lot to talk about, but the Steelers, quite frankly, just got beat up. I don't know what else you would want to call this game. They got bullied all over the field, and that's one thing. You know, they try to run the ball. This was a team in Buffalo that had the worst run defense in the NFL. I thought they were going to give a steady diet. You know, Buffalo had 51 carries. I thought the Steelers might, today rush it 45 times or so with some success. After all, Aaron Rodgers was coming back. I don't know about you, but I didn't expect all that much from him today, given what he was dealing with. But the run game just never got started. And their defense was all over the Steelers. They only rushed for, in the first half, I think it was 30 yards. They had 54 for the day. Now, you got to do better than that. And if you don't do that, it opens up problems in the pass game. Again, I did not see that many receivers running open today. Only Metcalf was the only wide receiver that had any receptions. He had 3 of them. 0 for Austin, 0 for Roman Wilson. I mean, they've been searching for a number 2 for 2 years now, and they had one here in George Pickens, and they didn't want to deal with him. But you get a guy like that, motivated by money, heading into a free agency situation, and boy, he's put up big numbers, and they also scheme for him. There wasn't a whole bunch of scheming going on that team today. It didn't look like to me anyway. And then on the defensive side, T.J. Watt summed it up best when he said, I can't believe that same play resulted in as much success as they were running. And they did. They kept going back to it because the Steelers couldn't stop it. And if you can't stop it, you're likely going to see it again and again and again. And that's exactly what happened there. So that one's in the books now. Back-to-back losses to the Bears, who were 6 players down defensively on defense, and somehow they still beat the Steelers. And then today, Buffalo was out 3 offensive line members, including both tackles. They were out, and they still dominated and physically beat up the Steelers on that side of the ball, which I did not see coming. But that's where we are right now, and that's why the Steelers have got a lot of work to do coming up this week as they go to Baltimore, tied for the lead. It's strange to say that the way they've been playing, but they're tied for the lead right now and have a chance to actually take over the lead in Week 14 of this NFL season. So we'll talk about that. Talk about Pitt and a missed opportunity. Lane Kiffin goes to LSU, and another continual reminder of how messed up college football is right now with some of their dates they have, for transfer portals, NIL, all this other stuff. It forces a lot of this stuff to happen in season. Lane Kiffin leads a team that could win a national championship for all we know, and he may never get a chance to celebrate with them as he heads to LSU for the money. A lot to get into, as it always is. 412-575-2600, number to call. Hit me up. Let me know what you think right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live on KDKA+. All right, welcome back. This is our Xfinity Tweet of the Night. Andrew Filipponi, who will be on the showdown tonight. That's live just after midnight tonight, so we will still be here talking about these issues. The Steelers are 6-11 in the last 17 games. That basically constitutes an entire season, 17 games, and that's what the last 17 have looked like. The Steelers, 6 wins, 11 losses. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Let's get right to it, beginning with Bill in Allison Park, who sounds off about the Steelers. Hey, Bill, how are you?
Hey, Bob, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I feel badly for you and your colleagues watching this team do the same thing year after year. It must be like watching the movie Groundhog Day. When will it end, Bob?
Well, I mean, at some point it has to end, right? One way or the other here. They're mired in this routine that, I think most of us thought, at least I did, 10-7, 9-8 was going to be the season. You can say that about a lot of teams, but there was some optimism with the fact that they went out and got a lot of things in the free agent market in terms of veterans. Now, you can ask yourself, are those moves designed to try to win now? And I think the answer is yes, but you're relying on guys who are older and guys who may not have much more tread on the tire. I see a guy like Darius Slay, who was a healthy scratch today. They paid him $10 million for 1 year. It wasn't worth it. I thought so at the time. Again, I was a big believer that Pickens should stay. That's just me, because I thought they need an explosion, have Metcalf on one side, him on the other. They've been searching for a number two. They haven't got it done. So they're relying on, a 42-year-old quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is a Hall of Famer, and you can tell that when he's on, he's still very accurate. His arm is not in question whatsoever. It's just the rest of this is not working out very well. They still need to find their quarterback. And until they solve that longer term, I think these problems will persist. They got to get that right at some point, whether it's next year, whenever. Maybe it's Will Howard for all we know. We're not going to see him this year, you would think, most likely, unless there's some sort of emergency. But they got to figure that out. Once again, we have our KDKA-TV Connect poll brought to you by Penn West University. Do you want to see Howard at some point this season? I bet you the answer is overwhelmingly yes on that. And I can understand why. He's an intriguing young guy. But most likely you won't. 412-575-2600. Let's go to Paul in Salzburg, where things are probably very salty. Hello, Paul.
Yeah, Bob, my whole thing is you said everything in a nutshell. If we had George Pickens with Metcalf and Johnson, they got rid of two good receivers, they would be unbeatable, I believe. They put too much pressure on the defense.
Well, the defense hasn't held up its part of the bargain either, though, I would say. Both have problems. I mean, this defense was supposed to carry this offense. Whenever you have the number one paid defense, the highest paid defense in the NFL, you expect high paid results. I mean, they were throwing the word historic around at the beginning of the season. Well, it may be historically bad at the end of the year, so that's not what they expected there. They're not getting the kind of performance from a lot of guys you'd expect it from. Today, for example, T.J. Watt, 4 tackles, no quarterback hits, no quarterback pressures, no sacks. And I realize that they just came off a game where Josh Allen got sacked 8 times. They were going to make life a little bit more difficult on the Steelers by using a run game to their advantage and high percentage passes. Josh Allen was not going to sit around throwing the ball 50 times. We knew that. And so the Steelers had to come up with a better game plan against that running offense that the Bills had, and they couldn't stop it. And on the other side, they couldn't do anything against one of the worst rushes defenses in the NFL. So there were problems all over the place. But again, Aaron Rodgers, I don't know what the expectations were coming in. For me, I thought he'd be okay. I wanted them to go in a different direction there, all due respect to him. But, they're going to be chasing that quarterback situation until they get it right. 412-575-2600. Let's go to bottom of the board in Whitehall. That would be Joe. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hey, Bob, one of the things I really respect about you is you do call out the Nutting family, Bob Nutting, about the ownership. You don't call out the Rooneys. Why?
What do you want me to call out? I mean, I thought they went out and spent a lot of money on, free agents who were trying to win this year. Now, have they made the right decisions? No. I mean, we talk about that a lot of times. Any ownership group is going to make bad decisions, but you got to overcome them.
Well, what? Isn't it time for Terrell Austin or even...
I would think at the end of this season, if things continue not... Again, keep this in mind, Joe, and thank you for the call. They're still tied for first. Now, weird things have happened in this NFL season. I'm a big believer, myself personally, that you evaluate throughout the course of the year and then you take action afterwards. Now, have they taken enough action for you and a lot of people? Probably not. But if things don't go well this year, I think you'll see a lot of hard conversations about coaching staff specific. And where that takes them, I don't know. I know they just signed Mike Tomlin to a 3-year extension, so that's money they just basically gave him. Coaching staff changes, yeah, there could be a lot of them if things go south, but they're also tied for first. Baltimore has its problems. Somehow, in this weird NFL, you may see them win a division with 8 and 9. That record. Go in, and how about if they get hot at the right time and go well? I think Chris Muller had a kind of an interesting tweet about that the other day where he called for that. Said, wouldn't it be interesting if Mike Tomlin's regular season win streak ended at 8 and 9, and then they get hot and win a Super Bowl? How about that? Just saying. But the point is, it's a crazy season. They're not going to make any, I think, rash decisions right now until the end of the season, and then they'll talk about whatever they think is worthy of change. Let's go out to Nancy in Tarentum. Hello, Nancy. How are you?
Hi, Bob. How you doing?
I'm good.
I
How are
just
you?
wanted to know, that play where Aaron Rodgers got hurt, was that considered a good play or was that incomplete?
I mean, he got hurt because he got leveled from behind. That was a clean play. It was just he had no idea it was coming. McCormick lost his man Bosa, and the next thing you know, he got flattened like a pancake. So that was a fumble. They picked it up and scored and changed everything in that game. So big plays like that do happen. And for the Steelers, they've happened far too frequently in the second half, especially third quarters of games. You always like to come out of halftime and make a change in what's going on to the scoreboard, and that has not happened. They lost to Green Bay that way. They led, I thought, comfortably enough the way Green Bay was playing, and then suddenly it all changed in the second half. They had that way in Chicago. There are a lot of times where they've just, third quarters have been awful. Starts of games have been awful. They've only scored 7 points or more in a quarter one time, or haven't done it in 62 games, not more than 7 points. That's a terrible way to start. And you'd think that's where you come out of the gates, with your best play, because you have a chance to script offensive plays. You have a chance to, really make a statement, especially at home. And that did not happen today. All right, let's go out to Charles in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. What's up, Charles? How are you?
Hey, Bob. You are a brave man. So I'm gonna.
It's sports, It happens.
Right. The sun will come up tomorrow.
Exactly.
So I'm going to borrow kind of what the first caller said, to borrow a movie reference. The Steelers' relationship with Tomlin and Kahn. If you remember the movie Annie Hall, Woody Allen made a reference how a relationship has to be like a shark, where it always has to move forward to progress. And what we have here is a...
What happened? Okay, well, all of a sudden he went away. I don't know what happened there right when he was about to make his point. I'm not sure where you were going with that shark reference, but obviously they still have things they have to figure out. They need a second receiver. We've been talking about that for 2 years. They haven't gone to anyone. I get frustrated when I watch and see that Metcalf's the only intended receiver. Nobody else either gets open or whatever the case may be. You can't have 3 receptions for your entire group of wide receivers. That's it. No one else. Yeah, Scarana got 1, but it was late in the game. That doesn't really matter. I'm talking about the starters who were in there. There's nobody else stepping up in that department. It's your running backs who are going to end up leading the league in reception yards at the end of the year. That hasn't happened since John L. Williams was here back in 1994. So you better watch. They need to get more production on a lot of these things. A lot of problems to work out. They have all week to do it, and we'll see what happens 1 o'clock next Sunday. You'll see that game on KDK. We have JR, Lori, Brian, and Don. We'll try to get your calls next right here on KDK+. Stick with us. All right, welcome back. We roll along here before we sign off and remind you that you can tune in tonight, #1 Cochran Sports Showdown on at 12:05, just after midnight tonight, pushed back by the length of the Bills and Steelers tonight that you saw earlier on CBS. Let's go out to Lori in Avalon. Hello, Lori. How are you?
Hi, Bob. I was wondering earlier when you were talking to Chris Hoke, he was saying how the defensive players weren't covering their gaps. And I also heard the quarterback saying that he has some kind of a thing where he talks to the players and they're not all showing up. Seems to me there should be some more aggressive addressing of these problems. What do you think? And my second thing
go ahead. Make your second point.
It's just, you had mentioned earlier that Hines Ward had changed the way the game is played. I didn't know what that meant. So that was my other point.
All that meant was that he was more of a blocker and a very good one, and they changed the rules because he was so good at it. So he was more than just a wide receiver who accrued stats. Everybody looks at stats only. If you look at the way he played the game and the era that he was involved in, that Steeler team was a run-first team. They didn't throw the ball the way some of these teams do. So stats can lead you in one direction, but if you look at the entire body of work, I think you come away thinking that Hines Ward should be a Hall of Famer. So that's all that meant. And the first part of that was, meetings. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers tells you to show up for something, you should do it, right? He's a 4-time NFL MVP. He's a guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, I think that carries a lot of clout with it, and he seemed a little agitated about that. So, you know, they got some things to solve, and they don't have much time to solve it. This is 2 losses in a row. I thought this was a very important 3-game stretch. I said so when they took on the Bears, the Bills, and the Ravens. These are all teams that are going to be very much involved in the playoffs, and how the Steelers do will dictate their season. Well, so far they're 0-2, and with the prospects of going 0-3, and then we'll see. I mean, these, honestly, they're both 6-6. They have 2 games left head-to-head. The outcomes of those games will determine who wins this division most likely, and there's another game in there against Cleveland. The other 2 after that are at here in Pittsburgh against Miami. They're hot. They've won like 3 in a row. They won again today, and Minkah Fitzpatrick had a pick 2. You've heard of pick 6s. He intercepted a 2-point conversion and ran the other way for 2 points. And then you have Detroit, which is a very good team still, even though they've struggled in their division. So a lot of football left, and we'll see how it all plays out. But the AFC is sort of a quagmire. There's a lot of just average teams. I can't think of one. If I had to ask you, come up with a name of a team that's going to win a Super Bowl from the AFC, you can come up with 10 answers to me, and they all would be legitimate. That's the way I think. And Kansas City's not even in the playoff picture at this point, so it's kind of weird. Anyway, join us tonight after the late news on KDKA for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That's going to do it for us. Thank you for joining us. We do it every night of the week right here at 10:35. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. I hope you have a great week. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.